So, Berto, it's the end of another year on this planet, another rotation around the sun.
On the flat Earth, you mean?
Right. Another, well, right. So, another, well, how does that work? How do they work?
Another
cycle.
How do they measure time on the flat Earth?
Yeah.
What is a year defined as?
365
days, but how's a day defined? Oh, simply
because the Earth rotates around the disk, or doesn't rotate it, like hovers over
the sun rotates, hovers. Yeah,
the sun does a circle like a halo.
What I don't understand about that is why you eventually can't. Why does it get dark then?
Because it's like a spotlight.
Sun. I
sun.
see. It's not, and there's no umbra, or like the umbra is really dim or something.
Right.
But I can't even see it as a star in the distance.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's opaque on the sides.
Well, right. In order for that to make physical sense, there would have to be like a curtain, like a physical curtain.
This is Occam's nightmare, right?
Yeah. So let's review 2017. What do you say?
Let's do it.
This is the Psychology in Seattle podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. Who are you, Berto?
My name is Humberto Castañeda, and I test Halloween masks.
So 2017, let's review. Like, what news stories do you remember big?
Oh, my God. Let's see. We had an inauguration of some sort.
Yeah. That was heavily attended, by the way.
Unprecedented, like record-breaking.
Yeah.
And I mean, there were so many news items related to that in the subsequent weeks and months. A lot of famous tweets with nuclear undertones or overtones.
Okay.
There was big disasters, like huge raging fires. There was a big there's flooding, and there was also a huge earthquake
in Mexico.
Mexico, right?
Hurricanes,
unprecedented, like 5 hurricanes in a row or something.
Irma, Harvey, Maria, and others.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And some famous deaths,
we'll get into that in a second.
Okay.
Other news stories.
Let's see. What else happened this year? Big news. Well, we had episode 7.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get into that. We'll get into movies and TV shows too. So let's just talk about news stories for
news stories. They repealed. They passed the tax law.
Yeah.
Right. That's a big change. There hasn't been a big tax change in a long time.
How long?
Since Bush.
Yeah, it hasn't been that long.
but that's already 20 years, maybe. Not 20.
Well,
8,
I
16.
think it just depends on what we mean by large
14
tax changes,
Yeah.
And I think periodically every 10, 20 years or something, there's another change, And so it's a change. Covfefe. The shooting in Las Vegas.
Oh gosh, the shootings.
The shooting at the Texas church.
Yes.
Merriweather versus McGregor. Mayweather, sorry.
Yeah, that was big.
Sexual harassment.
Oh, right. What crazy stories.
Yeah.
Like that all started, it seems like a long time ago, but that was September, October.
Yeah.
It's recent.
Right.
It was a big whirlwind.
The eclipse.
The eclipse, right.
Which I went to. And you...
I went...
You were
partially...
close.
95% went to.
Which I have to say, and I think I told you this, seeing a 95% eclipse is like seeing a 3% eclipse. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't... when I heard about 95%, like some people are like, oh, I'm pretty close to totality. I'm gonna see like 95%. And I'd be like, oh, that's pretty cool. When I saw the transition from 95 to 100, it was night and day. Literally.
You're such an elitist. You're like, until you have seen 100%.
It's true though. I mean, it was like, because when it was 95, you couldn't look at it. You still needed glasses, and it was still basically daytime.
Yeah.
It was just
dark, but
a little darker,
Yeah.
like a cloudy day or something.
Yeah.
But when it goes totality, it's nighttime.
Yeah.
You see the stars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it is crazy and it's scary. Like it is I was kind of scared, even though I fully understand what is happening.
But you could imagine how ancient cultures would hold eclipses in like this super mystical regard.
Because the sun is so bright that as the moon is catching up to the sun, I think that's how it works. I think the moon overtakes the sun or something. As they're approaching each other, you don't see the moon. I thought I would see, because when there's a new moon, and you just see a very sliver crescent.
Yeah.
You see the sun, and then sort of off by about 30 degrees, you'll see the moon there. And you can almost see the backside of the moon because you got earth shine bouncing off. And so it's a sphere in the sky you can see. And I thought I would see that. I thought as the moon got close, you would see them together, but you don't.
Because the sun drowns
The sun's so bright, like you just see the sun. And then all of a sudden, the sun just starts to disappear.
Right.
And I would imagine in ancient times, or even just 100 years ago or something, you didn't have filters that you could look at the sun safely, right?
Yeah.
And you wouldn't necessarily know unless you were an Aztec or something.
So you're sitting there one day, randomly. You don't know there's an eclipse. You didn't read the morning internet news.
Right.
And you're in the field.
Yeah.
And you notice it starts getting a little dark, but maybe it's clouds, so you might not even look up.
Right. And you wouldn't look up because the sun is so bright.
And from one moment to the next,
boom,
everything goes dark.
And there's a hole in the sky.
And you are like, oh, it's the end of the world.
Yeah. And it looks like a hole. The other thing I thought I would see was a celestial body in front of the sun. You know what I mean? Like I thought I'd be like, it's the moon in front of the sun. But that is not, you can't, it is a black inky abyss.
Yeah.
And it looks like a hole. It really does. It looks like a black abyss in the sky.
You see like the corona around it.
Yeah.
So the only thing you could have possibly yelled in those ancient cultures in that moment would be, Covfefe!
Also, you have the white nationalist rally in Charlottesville, and
was that big news? I guess it was big news.
Yeah, it was a huge deal. Women's March back in January,
and SJW's ruining Star Wars.
Exactly, and Rick and Morty.
Right.
You have the United Airlines passenger being dragged off of the flight.
Oh, that was crazy footage.
Yeah, the bombing in Manchester at the Ariana Grande concert.
Oh, that's right. And then there was all the acquitted cops.
Yeah.
There were several acquitted cops this year.
Right.
And new shootings.
Right.
So that's like
Philando Castile.
Yeah.
And who else?
So it's not even one news item. It's like this. It's sort of like the sexual harassment stuff.
Yeah.
It's a whole year of maelstrom. It's not good.
You have the U.S. withdrawing from the Paris Climate Agreement.
Oh, God. That's all this year. That's crazy.
You have ISIS actually losing ground in Syria.
Yeah, right.
You have the observation of gravitational waves of two neutron stars colliding. And you have the Cassini-Huygens probe plunging into Saturn and suiciding.
Incredible.
So any other things you can think of?
Well, let's see. There were some firsts in the world of machine learning. Like they beat chess now with machine learning. So, chess, they had beat chess brute force before with the Deep Blue. Mm-hmm. They beat Kasparov. But this is now using the machine learning methods they used to beat Go. And now, within 24 hours, an AI trained itself to beat the best AI programs in the world that had been programmed in the traditional methods.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like the new marker is not beating humans, but beating the previous AI who beat the humans.
Yeah, and that's cray. They also, there were some markers of progress, but they're a lot more subtle in the fields of speech understanding. But it's a year that was big for machine learning.
Okay.
So,
as I'm sure previous years.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that's building on itself.
Yeah.
So for several years now, we will see new firsts.
SpaceX seemed to make some.
They made a successful
landing of the
rocket.
We made how many episodes do you think we made this past year? How many?
Just this year?
Yeah.
I mean, you make like 7 a day, right?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, you make a lot alone.
Yeah. And with other people.
I'm going to say like 150.
180.
180. That's crazy.
That's like every other day, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me because, I mean, I guess on a normal week, I'm releasing 3 and then occasionally I'm releasing 4. So I guess that makes sense.
Well, like, yeah.
But like an episode, basically 4 episodes a week, you know, three and a half episodes. Yeah.
That content.
One of the very first episodes we made in 2017 was about John Brookshaw, who was a listener to the podcast. He died, actually.
Oh, wow.
And so he had a drug overdose, accidental probably, and so he died. Talked about narrative therapy, EMDR. I'm just sort of going over some of the highlights, some of the notable episodes. We started analyzing. We had 3 episodes on black beer.
We had like a massive one on the Beatles.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Marlon Brando, birth order, astrology, paraphilias and sex fetishes.
Right.
The Landmark Forum critique. That gets a lot
controversial.
It gets a lot of YouTube hits, that one.
Yeah.
Combating Scientology. I talked with this one guy, interesting guy. Debating feminism. I debated feminism with some guy. I don't know if you listened to that episode. There's a number of episodes in which clients were kissing their therapists and therapists were abusing their clients. Like, this was a year in which I really dove into a lot of listener and patron stories regarding sexual assaults, essentially, or unethical behavior by therapists.
My favorite one of the year was the anti-psychodynamical psychosis psychotropicos.
Did you listen to that one?
No, but I saw the title. I was like, what the? Was that even, this was this year, wasn't it January?
Yeah, that was anti-psychodynamic instructors. So instructors who hate psychodynamic theory.
I'm sure it made a lot of sense, but it was a funny long title, you know?
We did a lot of episodes on Game of Thrones, Cersei Lannister, The Hound, and Theon Greyjoy, diagnosing Game of Thrones. We actually, this year, got a lot of press around my Game of Thrones episodes.
You had the article was written about
in the Business Insider, I think. 13 Reasons Why, S-Town, Viktor Frankl.
Oh, S-Town was this last year,
Yeah, how to get into a psychology program. We did an episode on Eternal Sunshine. Passive-aggressive personality disorder, Munchausen by proxy or factitious.
Is that like when you watch the Baron Munchausen and then tell someone about it?
Yeah. Right, exactly. Baron Munchausen by proxy. Donald Winnicott. We talked about Michelle Carter being found guilty.
Oh, right.
For manslaughter, I'm thinking. Orchid Children, Repressed Memories of the documentary on Netflix called The Keepers. Have you seen that yet? The Keepers? It's pretty good.
No, I haven't. But I remember I was talking about the crime one, the serial
Making
killer.
a Murder?
No, the serial killer show.
Oh, Mindhunter.
Mindhunter.
Right. We talked about borderline complex PTSD. I interviewed someone about Child Protective Services, in which she used to work for Child Protective Services, and she had one of her kids get killed by the parent. I talked about hypochondria with your butt worms that you thought were happening in the toilet.
Wait, might they still be happening?
Racism being a mental illness. Revoking.
Did I tell you the other day? By the way, it almost happened again for a second. Same exact thing. Like, I had thrown the floss in the toilet the night before, and I was.
You need to stop doing that. That's why there are huge clogs in the.
But it's all natural. Like, it's not plastic. It's
not.
No, it's like it's the tape floss. It's all just like cotton or whatever.
Oh, so it breaks down?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I'll double check, but I buy it at Whole Foods.
How long does it take to break down is the question.
It looks like a fucking worm by 24 hours later. but it almost caught. Well, okay, you're right. I probably shouldn't do it. But for a second, I almost felt that fear again because I looked and I'm like, what? Oh, right.
I mean, you have a garbage can in your bathroom, right?
I do.
So,
but the floss is so awkward to put in the garbage can.
Yeah.
Because it's all stringy and so.
Just think about like a fish or a crab getting caught on that thing. You know what I mean?
But this isn't a 6-pack plastic thing, you know?
Emotion focused therapy, psychodynamic therapy, applied behavioral analysis. We had Elizabeth on the show for that. Talked with Michael Drain about the Evergreen State College debate. I get a lot of heat for that episode.
We did all those episodes where you wouldn't let me talk and you cut me off.
Yeah, exactly. Did an episode about how I cut you off. We talked about gender neutral pronouns and Jordan Peterson.
Oh yeah.
We talked about pedophilia, sexual orientation. Did I talk with you about that?
We had a conversation about it, but I don't remember if it's that you were saying that you had that episode and then we got on the topic, or if I was on that episode.
Self-sabotage, sex therapy, time management, Dirty John, Harvey Weinstein, me publishing a book, coaching versus counseling, Pickle Rick, Charles Manson, Stranger Things 2, Culture Bound Syndromes, Tommy Wiseau.
All right.
And Star Wars. Okay, so let's talk about movies of this year. What
are some movies this year?
What are some notable movies this year?
Okay, so right off the top of my head, Mother.
Yeah.
Mother!
Mother, exclamation point.
Which such a polarizing movie. Like one of my buddies finally watched it and I get a text message and it says, if I hadn't watched The Room knowing that it was supposed to be, or that, you know, that we were going to make fun of it and stuff like that, but I watched The Room after watching Mother, I would actually think The Room was a better made movie or something like that. He's like, he hated Mother.
Oh yeah, a lot of people hated it.
He thought it was the worst thing ever. So anyways, that was hilarious. So we did the Mother one. Mother came out.
How to get rate? You got to rate every movie you talk about. So.
Oh, so for me, that one was a 9.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. I think I gave it a 7 or an 8. I really liked it. Oh, a 7. I gave it a 7.
Obviously, episode 7.
Yeah.
Or is it 7 or 8?
8.
Oh, episode 8. Right. Episode 8, which I gave. What did I give it? A 7, I think.
Okay.
What did you give that one?
I gave it an 8.
An 8.
Yeah, I really liked it. There were moments where I was a little pulled out, but not too bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess if it hadn't had the casino sequence, it would have rated a lot higher for me. But whatever.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the casino sequence. While I mean, the whole thing is rating a movie is complicated because it's hard. You know, when I go to see movies like this, I see it opening night with friends. The crowd is there. I've been waiting. You know, there's a vibe.
It's a big adrenaline rush.
Right. If I wasn't a huge Star Wars fan and I watched this movie like 6 months from now on my laptop, that's a different experience. You know, like when I saw episode 7, I had for the first time I had watched episode 4, 5, and 6 in one theater,
right, with
all these super nerds, and then 7 just came on right after that.
So you were like, ah!
And so the orgasmic experience I had watching 7. Now
you had an O face the whole time,
pretty much. And so if I just evaluated that movie like in the grand scheme of like movies or even Star Wars movies, am I going to put that one super high? Actually, I think I still do.
You still do, but not
as high as
numero uno.
Yeah. Anyway. So what other movies?
But wait, I didn't give. Oh yes, I did. Okay, never mind. So other movies that came out. Oh, the big Guardians of the Galaxy 2,
right?
And the Civil War.
What number would you give that?
Guardians. Oh, I gave that one like a 7.
Yeah, I gave it a 7 too.
Yeah,
I liked it. James Gunn.
But so the first one I would have given like an 8.5 or 9.
Yeah, I think I gave that one a 9.
Yeah. It was one of my favorite movies for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, what else? There were many superhero, like there were uncountable superhero movies. There was Justice League.
And what's your number for that?
Oh, Justice League, I would give it a 7 as well.
Oh, really? I thought you would have given it higher. I thought you really liked that.
I really did like it, but I have to compare it to movies. You know what I'm saying?
So Zack Snyder, yeah, I gave it a 6. I thought that it, you know, in terms of entertainment value, that I thought it was, you know, a solid rental, you know.
Like the only superhero movies that I would give higher than like an 8 would, I mean, what would they be actually?
Like, well, for
Maybe
Dark Knight
Guardians of the Galaxy
and Dark Knight.
Dark Knight. Yeah, but those movies, especially Dark Knight, is like that movie goes beyond being a superhero movie.
But it is a superhero movie.
But it is a superhero movie. You're right. So they're few and far between that I would rate super high.
Really? So you don't have a Marvel movie as an 8? Because I think
Guardians.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
right.
Guardians is my highest Marvel movie.
What about the first Iron Man? Or
I really liked it, but it's probably an 8.
okay, so an 8.
An 8, yeah.
Okay. What other movies from this year?
Okay, let's see. What did I see? Oh, yeah, so independent movies. There were a few really great ones, but I can't remember any of them.
Well, I got a list here. So, have you seen Darkest Hour? Probably not.
No.
It's about Gary Oldman.
Yeah, I know what it is, but I haven't seen
Winston
it.
Churchill. It's great. I gave it an 8. I could have demoted it to a 7 because it's not. It's almost like a recreation, right? It's not trying to be anything more. Like, did you see Lincoln with the Steven Spielberg movie? Darkest Hour is almost kind of like it lacks sensationalism, shall we say? It's trying to show you like a week in the life of Winston Churchill, essentially. Sure. And it's pretty subtle. And in that way, it's sort of like The Crown. Have you seen The Crown, the TV show? Great TV show. And I really liked it, so I gave it an 8. Coco, do you see Coco yet?
No.
You got to see that movie.
I know.
It is really good. I gave it an 8. I could even bump it up to a 9. It's very good in terms of entertainment, tear-jerking moments, the detail, the story, the characters. It's just Coco is amazing.
I saw Jigsaw.
Jigsaw. Oh, is this a horror movie?
Yeah. I would rate that one at least a 5.
Spielberg, the documentary that came out this year. It's on
right.
I think it's on HBO.
I haven't seen it.
It's pretty good. I gave it a 7. Very interesting documentary.
I saw the Jim Carrey documentary.
Right.
That one was
what number would you give that?
That was so interesting. I would give it an 8 probably.
Yeah, I gave it a 7. Directed by Chris Smith, Jim and Andy, The Great Beyond.
Jim and Andy, yeah. And the Room movie, Disaster Artist.
Disaster Artist.
That I would give. That was so entertaining.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, 8.5 maybe.
Yeah, I gave it an 8. You and I are having very similar ratings here.
Yeah.
James Franco directed it. Yeah, Disaster Artist is. I think you have to watch The Room. You have to be familiar with The Room, and you kind of have to have a love for The Room. I think
fully enter. But I did hear people that saw it that liked it and hadn't seen it. So I don't know. But you're right. In general, I think you're right.
I think there a Netflix TV movie called A Christmas Story Live. It was have you seen this?
No.
It was I can't remember what channel it was on, but it was
Is that Bill Murray thing? No.
No, I don't think so.
Bill Murray had a
Bill
Christmas
Murray
special.
did one last year, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's similar to that, but it was they basically took a stage play, A Christmas Story, the musical, and made it into a TV show.
Oh.
And it was live. And
Weird.
I kind of liked it. I gave it a 6. American Assassin, did you see that?
Wait a minute.
Michael Keaton.
Yes, I did.
What number would you give that?
American Assassin, it's this kid, and Michael Keaton's like the trained badass, and there's a woman.
They travel around the world. A lot of fight sequence. It's sort of like Born Identity or something.
Yeah. Did I like it? I did enjoy it, but there was something about it that didn't wow me.
I didn't like it. I gave it a 4. It had its moments, but for the most part, I was rolling my eyes.
I thought, right. And I thought the twists were so dumb.
Yeah, it was badly written. The
fact that I can barely remember.
Yeah. To the Bone, about eating disorder, woman on Netflix movie. I gave a 6 out of 10.
Is it like is she the one with the eating disorder?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty accurate for the most part. Mm-hmm. Not completely. Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. Did you see it?
No.
I liked it. I gave it 5.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Directed by a French guy, Luc Besson.
Oh, yeah. Luc Besson from The Fifth Element, right?
Yeah. I gave it a 5 out of 10. I might even give it a 6 out of 10. It was hated by the critics,
Really?
but but I think it's because I think critics hate movies that have a lot of hype around it that don't really deliver, you know? And if I watched this just recently, it was months after it had come out. So I got the DVD from Netflix and watched it. And because that's how you watch movies is you rent. I don't know if you know, there's this thing called DVDs.
Belle Biv DeVoe?
Yeah, and you put it in your DVD player. Anyway,
that's weird.
But yeah, I thought there were moments where I was like, wow, this is actually fun and kind of a different sci-fi feel.
Oh.
And an interesting premise and some very interesting tech that they show. But the problem is the central characters are this very young woman and very young man who are supposed to be like the two best detectives or the two best like action. They're sort of like action detectives, right? They're not just like detectives, but they're also like good with guns and fighting and thinking their way through tough situations. And they are supposed to. It's based on an old French comic book, actually.
They're 80s detectives,
kind of. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're like it's like Lethal Weapon, right? And in space with a very young, attractive couple.
I see.
And the guy is constantly sexually harassing her, trying to get her to date him. And she keeps refusing, and he just keeps at it until at the end she kind of gives in. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler.
But and the way that Besson directed these two actors, Dane DeHaan and Cara Delevingne, I don't know how to pronounce it. But anyway, he basically directed them to be very deadpan, you know, almost kind of like Neo from the Matrix, if that makes any sense. It's just like dead. And I think that was a huge mistake, that, you know, because arguably the whole half of the story, if not most of the story, is this interaction between the two characters and the way they react to the world and stuff.
Right.
And they're basically like robots, and it's just like it just comes across like in The Fifth Element, like
tons of personality.
Right. Even with Bruce Willis's character, like, you know, you get a sense for what's happening in his head. You know. Anyway, Lady Bird, which you haven't seen yet.
But of course I should. Blade Runner.
Yeah, Blade Runner. What number would you give that?
That's a tough one, man. I really enjoyed it, but it's so long.
Denis Villeneuve.
I would give it a 9.
Great. I gave it an 8. I could have bumped it up to a 9 too, but I demoted it from it was a 9 visual and a 9 in terms of like delivering on a sequel, essentially.
Yeah.
And being very good sequel to an 80s movie.
Yeah.
You know? But I demoted it to an 8 because I didn't really understand the story that well.
All right. Yeah. I felt that way too. And so I'm probably artificially bumping it in retrospect. I will say, I think we talked a little bit about this. For me, the original Blade Runner, I don't hold it in as high regard as some critics do.
Yeah, I mean, if it's sort of like with Empire Strikes Back. When we were in the 80s, these were arguably some of the best sci-fi movies that had been ever made at that point. And when you're 15 or 10 watching these movies, it's just like, oh my God, you know. So, and the rewatchability in the 80s and early 90s is there, you know.
Yeah.
But you watch Empire or the original Blade Runner today, and there are sequences where you're like, "Oh my God, this is a terrible sequence," you know, and like they should have taken this out. It's like really bad. And you know, Empire has you know, sequences in it that are just like you're just like, what are you? You know, why are we here? When when they're in the space slug, for example, you know.
Right.
It's like,
okay. So that's a similar scene. There's this other movie from the 80s called Empire Strikes Back that is flawless to this day. But that scene you're describing sounds a little like that one.
Right. So and when you rewatch, which I did recently, the original Blade Runner, some of it is just really long and drawn out.
Well, and part of my problem is I never watched Blade Runner when it came out.
Oh.
And when I tried to watch it in high school and college, it was always It was hilarious. It was usually after a night of going out with friends, and somehow the topic would come up, and like this disbelief. You've never watched Blade Runner, and so like 2 a.m. in the morning, you gotta watch it. You gotta watch it, and we put it in, and then of course I would fall asleep. So I seriously tried to watch that movie probably 5 different times, fell asleep every time, and I finally watched it all the way through, just not too long ago, right? Like a few years ago. And didn't it get re-released, right? It got re-released in the theater at some point.
Yeah.
Anyways, I finally saw it, but it was the... Oh, yeah, it got re-released this year, in fact. They were playing it at Central Cinema.
Okay.
But it was the theatrical release on top of it all, which was not as good as the director's cut.
Well, and that's debatable because there's all this talk about... I think Blade Runner, if... Either I heard an exaggeration or I heard someone actually accurately saying that there are dozens of cuts of edits. And I've seen a number of them, and none of them are that different. It's not like there's not like there's a cut out there where it's just like, oh my God, this is night and day. You know, it's just like, yeah, there's some added elements, but
so, you know, I mean, I love the aesthetics and I love some of the acting, and certainly conceptually so ahead of its time, the theme, all these things. But there are some very slow, and not just slow as in, well, but it's artistic. There's some passages that could have really used a little adrenaline.
Yeah, I mean, for the time, it was just eons beyond its years. And it really took another 20 to 30 years for sci-fi to catch up to Blade Runner, you know, in terms of the style and the mode and the vision of the future.
Yeah.
And, you know, anyway. So let's take a break, and when we get back, let's continue talking about 2017 movies. What do you say?
Yep.
All right, we're back from the break. If you haven't become a patron of the podcast yet, do so. Go to patreon.com. Become a patron of the podcast, and when you become a patron, you can fall asleep at night knowing that you are doing something good for the world by supporting this podcast.
You're helping.
And also, you get access to all of our premium episodes, and we give money to charity out of that pool, and blah, blah. Anyway.
So are you guaranteeing that this is like a cure for insomnia?
Exactly.
Okay.
Good call. Okay. So other movies. Lady Bird, I gave an 8. Greta Gerwig. Really loved Lady Bird. I hope it wins Oscars.
So that one's got a lot of buzz. Yeah, I want to see it.
Yeah.
Oh, wasn't the new Alien movie that was this year? Last year?
Yep.
What was it called? It wasn't Prometheus, because that was the prequel.
Yeah. What would you get? Did you see it?
Yes, I did.
Covenant.
Alien Covenant.
Ridley Scott, Fassbender.
I really hated it.
So what number would you give?
Oh man, it looked gorgeous. It looked.
Yeah.
So if I was rating the looks, I'd give it a 9.
Yeah.
But overall, because of the story, I'd give it like a 5 or something.
So overall, a 5.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I gave it a 6 for the same reason. There were moments and visuals and the feel of it that I was like an 8. I was like, man, this is. I mean, overall, I was glad I saw it in the theater. You know what I mean?
And I love Fassbender, and I can't get enough of some of those scenes. But
the story was so convoluted. Like, can you summarize the plot?
No, and worse than that, the first Alien. They go down to the planet, and they're wearing all this protective gear, and they look like astronauts, right? In this one, they go down to this foreign alien planet they know no information about.
They just start walking.
They're not wearing
around.
anything.
Yeah.
They're breathing in all the air. They're eating everything. And I'm like, okay, what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah.
And so it just took me out of the suspension of disbelief
it's
right
like,
off the bat.
What was that Nolan movie in space, Interstellar? There were, whether or not it's accurate or not, there's a certain attention to detail that makes it feel like, oh, this might be what it would look like. You know what I mean?
Like 2001.
Yeah, right. The professionalism of people who do technical work. You know what I mean? Whereas Alien Covenant looked like a bunch of like reality TV stars wandering around in the wilderness.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And you got, like, I think the Alien movies progressively got that way.
Yeah.
But I really was hoping he would bring it back, because the first one wasn't like that. They had, if you remember, like...
There wasn't much opportunity for it to go either way, because it was such a limited scope movie.
That's fair.
You know what I mean?
That's fair.
But yeah, the first one is amazing. The second one is similar to Empire and Blade Runner in that people talk about Aliens like it's the best movie of all time.
But if you rewatch
it, there are some real rough moments.
It's a fun movie.
Yeah,
but
again, for the time, amazing.
Right.
The action and the style and the gender.
I wonder what T2 would be like now if we watched it.
So similar thing. I've rewatched scenes from that and I'm like, oh, this doesn't really hold up. I mean, it's still a great movie, but at the time, T2 was considered.
It blew everyone's mind.
It was considered like the best movie that's ever been made. I mean, T2 was and T1 for that matter. T1 still holds up actually in my mind. Actually, T1 holds up better than T2. Oh,
absolutely. And that I feel the same way about Alien versus Aliens.
Right.
And I think, and this is not uncommon, limitations actually helped them in that regard.
Right, exactly.
Not that look, T2 was amazing. And you can still admire the advancements they made in special effects and all that stuff.
And it's good action.
And it's good action. But story-wise, pacing, and like you're saying, just like the grittiness, and you can still watch both Alien and Terminator today, and sure, there'll be some scenes where you're like, look at that computer screen, or but overall, you'll feel the movie.
Right.
Some of the other movies, and I haven't seen a lot of these recently, but you'll watch them and you'll be like, ew.
I think Bill Paxton is in both Aliens. T1 and Aliens.
T2 or T1?
T1.
What is he doing? T1.
I think Bill Paxton is one of the guys that that Arnold Schwarzenegger takes away the clothes of. Remember? So Arnold's naked. And he comes.
Really?
He comes on these.
He's one of the bar people.
The street punks. You're thinking T2.
Oh, okay.
So in T1, he's naked and he comes upon these punks with like mohawks and stuff.
80s punks. Yeah.
That's why he's dressed in that kind of badass outfit.
Okay.
For whatever reason, these Terminator robots always like to go to places where people dress badass. Wouldn't it be funny if one of the Arnold Schwarzenegger robots time travels next to like an Abercrombie and Fitch or something.
Right. Or Wall Street.
And like comes out, with a 3-piece suit. 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, directed by Martin McDonough. I gave an 8 out of 10. I really liked it. Some people, this is another very divisive movie in that, and I've had people email me because I did a whole episode about this movie. I've had people email and say like, oh no, Kirk, not you. Like, you don't like this movie. I hated this movie. It's terrible.
Really?
So, yeah, some people hate it. I've heard podcasts.
I want to see it.
But, I mean, did you see In Bruges?
Yeah, with Colin Farrell.
Did you see 7 Psychopaths?
Yes.
Did you like that?
Yeah.
Then you should like 3 Billboards. The same guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a similar kind of tone in that it's kind of dark and
I wonder, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Were there a lot of
I don't want to interrupt you all the time.
But
I don't want to blow you off the way I do all the time.
Were a lot of the complaints maybe that because his movies
so moving on.
His movies tend to not resolve. You know what I mean? Is that some of the complaints?
Exactly.
Okay.
So the way the movie ends, it's not Hollywood.
It's open-ended, sort of. Yeah.
Well, it's open-ended, but the moral message is unclear.
I see. Yeah, that some people are really uncomfortable with that. Oh, like one of the main complaints I saw against Mother, for example, including from my friend that I was talking about, was that some variant of, oh, they hit me over the head with metaphors, right?
Right.
And I've tried to explain that. To me, this wasn't a movie where he was trying to subtly place some metaphors.
Right.
He was literally doing an allegory of like the Bible story and adding a female dimension to it that isn't there in the Bible. And if you want to call that hitting me over the head, it's like, well, okay, but that's like saying that what's the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern hit me over the head with all these Hamlet references or whatever.
Right.
It's like, come on.
Well, what I say about Mother is that it is a movie. One, you have to like Aronofsky. Like if you haven't liked Aronofsky in the past, then you're really not going to like this movie. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's a style. It's like, if you hate U2 and you go to a U2 concert,
and they put a song on your
then
iPhone.
you're not going to like it. You know what I mean? So that's one. It's a very particular style that you and I really like.
Yeah.
I mean, Aronofsky is one of my favorite. the fountain is just
Right.
this. Not a lot of people even know about that movie. It's one of my favorites.
That's the one you've told me to watch that I haven't seen.
It's similar to this actually. There's a lot of allegory, but it's less crazy, if that makes sense.
Al Gore's in it?
Yeah. I never thought about that. I wonder if when people say allegory, it's like, huh? You know, because there's certain words when people say it that sound like my name. Is there a word like in the English language that you like?
That sounds like Humberto?
Yeah. No, like or Beto or something. Yeah. Like I'm gonna bet. Oh, wait a second.
You better have my. You better have my money.
Just better.
Bitch, better have my money.
Anyway, the other thing is when I saw Mother, I saw it, I think, opening night, I think. And I had no idea.
Yeah, I went in blind too.
So the way this movie walks you through the discovery of what this movie becomes is part of the experience.
Yeah.
And if you have any notion of like this movie's about an allegory or this movie's about, you know, Jesus Christ, or it's like, it'll probably ruin it because as you're watching the first, 75%, you're thinking,
yeah, I know, get to the point or something.
Yeah, so what's the,
I already read the Cliff Notes. Now what's going to happen?
Right. I was watching it thinking it was real. It was sort of thinking the story was based in reality,
Same here.
And so when it started to spin out of control, I was like, wait a second. And so I was sort of catching up with the twists and what was happening earlier as the story was crescendoing. Now, I will say that we talked about this in a previous episode, that the violent war scene went on way too long.
You felt that. I thought it was fine, but that's when you get into like subtle changes of opinion. Like, yeah, that scene could have been shortened. I didn't think that one line made sense.
But overall, I really liked it. And I can also see, even if someone went in opening night and with an open mind, and even like Darren Aronofsky, I could see someone just not liking this movie because it's such a weird movie. Like, imagine the opposite here. This movie is universally loved by all Americans. Does that make any sense?
No.
Yeah.
So when I walked out of American Psycho, I felt this is a movie I cannot really recommend to someone safely.
Right.
Because I can't say like, have you seen any cool movie? Oh, you must see American Psycho. Yeah. You will love it.
There's a movie that came out this year that is that for me. It's Lego Batman.
What? That came out this year?
Yeah. Have you seen that?
I love Lego Batman.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I whenever anyone's like, I say, see Lego Batman.
Lego Batman is great.
It's funny.
It has all
fast.
the references. It's so amazing.
But you don't have to see the it's like a good story, has interesting characters. Somehow they make Lego people into interesting characters.
Yeah. And I love the little...
I got a ninth ab. I have so many abs. I have an extra ab. And, you see this little ab like pop out.
Because you saw the first Lego movie, right? And he was such a good character in that. They were very smart to do the spinoff.
Yeah. Murder on the Orient Express, the remake.
Did not watch it.
Kenneth Branagh.
Do I need to watch that movie?
No, it's terrible. I gave it a 3 out of 10. The only reason why I didn't give it a 1 is because some of the scenes, some of the acting, and
why did they make a movie like that?
Well, I don't know, but
who got together? All these people, all these experienced people.
Yeah, and the story. If you know the original, you know that the story isn't all that complicated. It's sort of like, I could see how this movie back in the day was a big deal because it was probably one of the first twisty M. Night Shyamalan sort of endings.
Sure.
Where you're walking through this story thinking, you're trying to figure, essentially it's a murder mystery and you're trying to figure out who did it. And at the end, there's this huge twist.
But it's like, I'm sorry.
And it makes sense. The twist isn't completely stupid.
It's not aliens did it.
Right. It's like, oh, interesting. And I think that Kenneth Branagh was hoping that would carry the day or something.
But it's like Sherlock, the Sherlock show on. Imagine if they literally just recreated the old stories, like scene by scene.
Right.
But instead they add this like not a twist in the sense of what a twist, but like a modern twist to it.
Well, they add contemporary storytelling techniques that keep us interested.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Even when they did you see all the Sherlocks?
I know.
Okay.
No. How many episodes are there?
There's 4 seasons.
And only a few episodes per
and
season.
only a few. And I haven't seen season 4.
I saw the first season and really liked it. I think I started watching the second season and was like, it's not as good as the first season.
There's an episode at the end of season 2, or between season 2 and season 3, that this doesn't really give anything away, but it takes place in the past, like in 18 whatever's, like
oh, really?
in the past. And even in that episode, they still make it feel it's not just watching like the linear, I love the Sherlock Holmes stories, but they still modernize the storytelling, like you're saying, and even when it's taking place in the old.
Other movies from 2017, Thor Ragnarok.
Oh yeah.
What would you give that?
That was a 7.
Yeah, I gave it a 7.
Good.
Taika Waititi. I might have even bumped it up to an 8, but and people loved this one.
Thor was beloved.
Ragnarok. There were fans and non-fans alike were saying it's the best Marvel movie ever made.
Which is that I just can't get behind. And I watched it twice, and it wasn't twice because I wanted to. It was twice because someone else wanted to go to it, and I had already seen it. But I was like, sure, let's go. But what I'll say is, in the second time through, I really solidified my position, which was, this is a very, very superficial movie.
Right.
And it's fun. It's a fun little roller coaster ride. Great punching and kicking and stuff. But there's not much depth to it at all.
Right.
That was,
All Eyes on Me, which is about Tupac. It's like a movie about his not a documentary, a movie about his life. I gave it a 4 out of 10. There are scenes in this movie that are pretty great, but it is not compelling to me. There are many scenes where I was just like, it felt like an after school special at certain.
But is it based on
Tupac?
It's real. It's real stories.
Yeah,
but it's acted. It's
right. It's like like any other biopic. It's a biopic.
Yeah. What's the one that we loved? NWA.
Yeah.
What was it called?
Straight Outta Compton.
Straight Outta Compton. Yeah.
The Big Sick. Have you seen that yet?
I need to. I have not.
If there's a movie any of you need to see other than Lego Batman, it's The Big Sick. The Big Sick is funny as hell. Yeah. It's possibly the funniest movie of 2017.
That guy is arguably the funniest one.
Kumail Nanjiani. Zoe Kazan is great. Holly Hunter. Ray Romano is hilarious.
Really?
Yeah, it is.
Everybody loves him.
It's funny. It's touching. It's interesting. It's a true story too, which I didn't know until afterwards. But when you watch it, understand that this is a true story about Kumail Nanjiani.
Oh,
like
what?
Kumail Nanjiani. So I'll give the plot because it doesn't really give too much away. Kumail Nanjiani meets this girl and starts to date, and she quickly develops like this really serious illness.
Yeah.
And that's why it's called The Big Sick.
Yeah.
And her parents come to take care of medical stuff, and Kumail ends up sort of getting to know her parents.
I see.
And so, and the writers of this screenplay were Kumail and the woman. She ended up surviving. The
spoiler alert.
Yeah. So that is kind of but it wouldn't be a comedy. But anyway, the point is that it's a true story about Kumail and the woman who wrote it.
I see.
And the woman who wrote it gave the part of herself to Zoe Kazan, who is also a writer, director, actress. Anyway, I think Zoe Kazan is with what's his face? Oh my God. Anyway, Fate and the Furious.
Oh, right.
Did you see that?
Yeah. Not so great. I really like the previous one, Fast 8 or something.
Yeah. I gave this one a 4 out of 10. It was okay. I watched it on an airplane. You could argue that I shouldn't have done that.
I did not enjoy this one much. Like I said, I really did enjoy the previous one, which was a departure from, like, all those movies to me are like, eh.
Yeah, totally.
But the last one where they did where what's his name had died, Paul Walker had died, I actually did like that one.
Yeah.
It was still not a very highly, it would have been like a 6 for me or something.
People love the crap out of those movies, and I guess I could see it, but it's not. I feel it's so cartoony, and I never worry that anyone's going to get hurt. Right. Even though they're in the most ridiculous... It's sort of like watching James Bond. Like, you never think James Bond is going to die.
You don't? I'm always waiting for his... By the way, your scale is slightly different. No, it's a bit different than mine in that I think our upper end of the scale is similar, although you're really, really picky about 9s and 10s. But when you get to 5, your stance is like, I liked it. It's a 5, right?
Right.
For me... A 5 is like, I didn't like it, but because I want to reserve a lot of pain slots at the bottom. Like, if I hand a 3, it's like, you, sir, suck.
Well, that's similar to me.
Yeah, okay.
Like a 4 is, don't watch it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Actually, it's funny that you say that, because for me, I've always felt my scale was bad in that way too, because basically, if a movie sucks, it's 1 through 4.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then if a movie, so 5, 6, 7 is like, yeah, good, watch it, you know, and 8, 9, 10 is like, whoa, amazing movie.
Ridiculous.
But for that reason, I hardly give out any 1 through 4s, because one, I avoid movies that I'm going to hate.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I read reviews and I sort of can tell if I'm going to like a movie. And so it's just kind of funny, because if I really was trying to create space between the ratings, I would get 3 would be like, yeah, watchable. You know what I mean? I would reserve 1 and 2 for like movies you shouldn't watch. Anyway,
like for me, a 1 is Grown Ups 2. That's a 1.
Yeah. Snatched with Amy Schumer and Goldie Hawn.
What?
Yeah, it's Amy Schumer.
Oh, right. I did not see that.
It was okay. I gave it a 4. I don't recommend watching it, but there were moments where in the beginning, the first, if I Snatched, I would recommend watching the first 15 minutes and then just turning it off. The Mummy with Tom Cruise.
Oh, jeez.
Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
What rating would you give that?
I wanted to like it. I liked the idea that they were going to start this sequence of movies that were hearkening back to the Mummy and the werewolf and the things, but it was not good.
What number?
I'd give it a 4.
Yeah, I gave it a 4 as well. Meaning that I don't recommend watching it, but it was, you know, as far as like a popcorn action movie, it's fine.
Look, I was in the theater and I had the fun you can have having a ride at a amusement park.
Right.
Not quite as much, but
yeah. I'm curious what they do, because they're trying to create another Marvel universe. You know? They're trying to create a DC, but it's in this. They even have a name for it. It's called like Monsters and Terrors and Monsters or something, because they're going to have like Frankenstein and
I just
Dr.
felt like
Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
I felt his sidekick didn't work for me. The humor fell flat most of the time. The action sequences were predictable and like meh. And the thing I started getting really interested is that they start showing all these hints of like the other world, and then wasn't Gladiator was the bad guy, right? He was the Dr. Hyde, whatever.
Yeah.
Or he wasn't the bad guy. Sorry, he was the.
Well, he was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, but he wasn't the bad guy. He was like the curator.
He was a good guy. He was like in charge of
right.
of like the Justice League in that world. You know.
So I wanted to be excited about it, but the pieces didn't really fit great.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm curious as to where they go with this series, because I feel like they made a movie to introduce a world rather than making a movie, if that makes any sense. And it's possible that they could turn this into something kind of interesting if they get good writers and directors, essentially. Because it had the elements. Now, one of the worst things about that movie was the villain. I didn't care about it. They had a lot of scenes focusing on her, and a lot of time and effort spent. And the other thing is she was basically, she's a god, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why I hate Thor. That's why I hate Wonder Woman. That's why I hate, Superman. And that's why I like Ant-Man and Spider-Man
and Batman.
And Batman, he's almost in God territory sometimes. He's, the gadgets that he can.
I guess I see your point.
Yeah, like Ant-Man. When I watched Ant-Man, it was like, especially for the first 75%, it's like you really, or the first Iron Man for that matter. I like feeling like it's a real person that could be hurt, and they can't do anything they want. Whereas in The Mummy, the evil woman, she seemingly could do anything she wanted to, and I just lose interest. I'm like, well, if you're a god, I don't know. I mean, well, it's like, what are you going to do against gods?
Well, that I actually I do like some of that, but what I don't like is when you give me this, like you said, very, very powerful villain, and then their intentions or what they're trying to do seems so unclear. Like what is your goal then? You're just going to destroy everything? In some movies, they've handled it literally by saying, yes, I'm here to end it all.
Right.
And at least that's like, okay, you're the end of the world. Fine.
Right. Like, that's why I like Thanos, for example.
Right.
Because it's like, all he is a evil celestial thing, and he wants the 5 gems for the, he wants the 5 gems for the gauntlet, and it all makes sense. And every gem he gets more powerful,
Right. And have you read the comic?
No.
Because it makes, I don't know if they're going to do this. I doubt they're going to go this way in the movie, but it makes even more sense because the whole reason he's trying to do this is because he's in love with the entity Death.
Oh.
And Death pays no attention to him. Oh. And he's trying to see if the more he destroys and kills, maybe she'll love him finally. So it's sort of like there's a reason there, Is
What's-Her-Face Death? From Thor Ragnarok?
No. Oh, no. Well, that'd be weird if...
Because I don't think she died. We didn't really see her die.
But that's not the same entity. Because, in the comics, this is a...
Because she's kind of Death in that.
Yeah, but it's like the Death version, the Norse Death or something.
Right.
In the comics, this is an entity that never speaks and is literally the universal death entity.
Interesting.
But so whether or not you like that story, at least they give it a reason. Like, okay, here's what. But a lot of these recent, like same thing with Suicide Squad, and a lot of these is like, there's this powerful evil entity.
Yeah.
And what do they want?
Yeah.
I'm just here because
So Suicide Squad had so much potential because the Suicide Squad people, none of them were gods.
Right. And they were interesting.
And they had
some of them.
Sharp Shot, is that his name? Deadshot? Dead Eye,
something like that.
Will Smith.
Yeah,
his character. He's just a guy who's really good with guns.
Yeah, And actually, I liked his role better than I have in a lot of his recent movies.
Right. And then you have the Joker's girlfriend.
Yeah, Harley Quinn.
What is she? She's just,
and I like her.
She's just psychopathic. You know.
I liked her role and her as well.
Right. And so that movie, okay, let's just rewrite the script right now. Okay,
yes.
Don't have the Joker appear. Just keep, and maybe get rid of the guy who does fire. Maybe
overpowered.
Like get him down to like just the 4. You had Deadshot or whatever, the Will Smith.
Like, don't kill the guy you killed off and bring him in.
you had a rock guy, right? Don't you have a big guy?
Yeah, and you have the Australian boomerang guy.
Yeah, the boomerang guy, right? And so, no, get rid of the boomerang guy. And maybe add a couple other sort of.
Well, what's hilarious? Do you remember that at the end when they throw the thing?
Yeah,
you would think it would be the boomerang guy throwing the thing, but it's not. It's the rock guy throwing the
right. And so, and then in that same plot, they're in prison, they're bad guys,
and they need him to go after someone.
And the government comes to them and says, we have a job for you.
And don't make the bad guy one of them.
No,
that's retarded.
No, just don't say that word. It's like, just make it a straight up story where the government is legitimately looking for something good, and they're like, we want to hire you to do something, but we're really unsure. Now, there's a lot of the similar antics. It could have been played out better.
And don't make it a goddess that they're up against.
Right. Make it like a Lex Luthor kind of character or something. And they have to work together, which is kind of how they end up working out the plot in the end, right?
Right.
And keep it to that story. And keep it to one villain, like, because in Suicide Squad, don't they battle a whole other villain?
There's a whole bunch of stuff. And the other thing that they didn't take advantage of is show me why it had to be these people and not really highly trained soldiers. Because you told me, well, we don't want to lose highly trained. I get it, but you could control the highly trained soldiers a lot better. So I want to see things like, well, but these guys are willing to do things that the highly trained soldiers are not going to do.
Right.
Show me some of that.
Right. Like maybe the U.S. government is like, you're going to have to break into Russian, like a Russian camp,
consulate, whatever.
You know,
you're going to break every law known to international
and we can't
law.
have, and it would be a political incident if we had Americans do that. So we're hiring you, and no one's gonna. And if you get caught, you're just villains doing villainy.
We are here to work on script now for Suicide Squad 2 and 3 and 4, whatever you want.
And tell me what you think. I think again with The Mummy, with Suicide Squad, with the first DC, with the previous DC movie, not Justice League, but
the
Batman v Superman. The problem with these scripts is these studios are. It's sort of like in football, American football, when a receiver is about to catch the ball on a long bomb, okay? Mm-hmm. And one of the things you are trained to do is catch the ball first, then run, okay? But one of the things that a lot of guys do is they get greedy, and they think, I'm gonna catch this and I'm gonna get a touchdown.
I see.
And so before they actually catch the ball, they're already looking
for the line.
They're already looking toward the touchdown, and they drop the ball, even though the ball is so easily catchable. It happens a lot. Like a guy's wide open, and it's just like guaranteed 6 points.
So it's like, focus on the catch.
Focus on the fucking catch. And if you happen to get a touchdown, then great. And so in these movies, it's like, focus on the fucking story. Right. And if you happen to set up other stories, great. But movies are stories. They're not introductions.
And that's what happened with episode 8, where if they had focused just on the story, we wouldn't have had to feel like they grafted on this casino sequence.
Right, which seemingly is something that they're trying to set something up, right? All right, Baywatch. Did you see that?
That came out?
Yeah.
Was that with The Rock?
Dwayne Johnson and Zac Efron?
No, I did not see that. Was it funny?
Yeah, it has funny moments. I gave it a 5.
Okay.
It definitely has a decent story. It definitely has some funny moments. It's total like adolescent humor. And there's a lot, it's Baywatch, so you have a lot of people running up and down the beaches, and they make fun of it too. They sort of make fun of that. It's sort of self-aware anyway. We got to take a break. When we get back, I guess we'll continue talking about movies. All right, we're back from the break. If you haven't already bought my book, do so. Go to Amazon.com, buy my book. It's called Multi-Role Clinical Supervision. And if you're a clinical supervisor, I'm guessing that you would benefit from reading it. I tried to make it easy to read. It's just 120 pages or something, and there's a lot of stories in there and a lot of personal stories that I have. I'm also finding that some people who are going into internship and getting supervisors are also benefiting from reading this because it reveals that whole world to them that they don't know. But
that's great.
But anyway, okay. So King Arthur, did you watch that movie?
Nope.
With Guy Ritchie who directed it. It is terrible.
So what happened to Guy Ritchie, man?
I know.
Like seriously, what's the last good movie he made?
Well, I'd have to look at his full. Well, the Sherlock Holmes, the first Sherlock Holmes movie was pretty good.
Was that him?
Yeah, I think that's Guy
Oh,
Ritchie.
The one with the Iron Man was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that
Robert
was
Downey
good,
Jr.
actually.
I'm pretty sure that was him. I gave this a 2 out of 10, which means this is not only a terrible movie, it's like insulting. It's like there are a couple scenes that are kind of okay, but actually, not giving it. The reason why I didn't give it a 1 is because the costumes are pretty good and the cinematography is pretty good, but the story is so bad. It is so jumbled, and and it was like.
But it's the story of King Arthur, right?
Right, and all you got to do is watch the first scene, and you're just like, what am I watching? There is a elephant. So King Arthur's father essentially is in this battle in the very beginning, and he's this virtuous king knight who has this magical sword Excalibur, and he's in this battle, and his castle is being attacked, and there's an elephant that is, I don't have a good gauge on height, but the elephant, and there's people riding on the elephant, it's like a battle elephant. This elephant is probably 30 stories high.
Oh, jeez.
And we're in England, okay? And I'm like, so this is just a stupid fantasy from space movie, you know? And the whole thing about King Arthur is he may or may not be based on an actual person in actual medieval, you know, early medieval, I think like, what is like 600 AD or something, England, or I don't know.
Is that pre or after the giant elephants went extinct?
Right. I mean, not just giant elephants like in Lord of the Rings. We're talking like elephants the size of a mountain. These were gigantic.
It's like Dune here or something?
Bigger than that. Bigger
That's
than the
crazy.
worms. Like I was like, what am I? So that's just one element of it where you're just like,
no, elephant.
But the story is so bad. The story was the story is so jumbled, and you could tell they spent a lot of money on this movie. Like there are scenes where you're just like, wow, that is an epic scene right there. and I don't like Charlie Hunnam. Do you know this guy? He's the guy from Pacific Rim. He was also in Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, okay. I think I know who he is, but I've not seen things with him because
he just kind of bugs me, and I'm not one of those people who gets bugged. Like,
and is he King Arthur?
No, yeah, he's right. So, like I like Tom Cruise, and I like I like people who people hate. There's not a lot of actors who really bother me. Well, this is something. Anyway, another movie, Ingrid Goes West, which you didn't see. Aubrey Plaza, Elizabeth Olsen. I gave it an 8 out of 10. It's really good.
Is that a sequel to Fievel or
no? Get Out. Did you see that? You saw Get Out, right?
Yeah, that was just last year?
Yeah, Jordan Peele.
Oh my God, I loved Get Out.
Yeah.
That's like a 9 for me.
Okay, I gave it an 8. Yeah, I rewatched it recently, and it still holds up. Even with knowing.
It was such a good experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stressful, like crazy.
I think that movie has supreme rewatchability.
Yeah.
Even though you know what's happening, each scene is so well presented. You know,
I'm pretty sure I saw it twice in the theater, and both times I was riveted.
John Wick Chapter 2 came out. Did you see that?
I don't even know if I've seen John Wick.
Oh, my God. You got to see John Wick.
He's doing all sorts of like he's a gunfighter special agent or something? Or?
Yeah. Who retired but gets sucked back in.
Okay.
And John Wick 1, I probably gave that a 7. I gave 2 a 6.
I hear the action's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the stunts are amazing. Keanu Reeves is a legit stuntman.
Yeah.
One with his gunplay, and because you see him training, you can watch YouTube videos of him training with the gun and training like martial arts.
I saw one of those videos. It's amazing.
And he's an amazing driver. So a number of the there's a lot of interesting driving stunt scenes, you know. And Keanu Reeves is driving a lot of the time.
So John Wick 2. So am I right that this is a little bit flying under the radar? Or has it been huge?
In certain circles, John Wick 1 and 2 is a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah. If you love Keanu Reeves, like you love these movies.
I feel like I tried to watch the first one but it was at home and I fell asleep because it was late not because it wasn't good.
Well, it doesn't have a lot of plot. It's just a lot of shooting and killing and stunts and stuff. And so if you like that kind of thing, and the stunts are not like the new style of stunting where they, fast edits. It's like zooming out. You get to see the full stunt develop, right? Because that's how you do trickery with people who can't really do good stunts. Is you piece together like a scene. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So John Wick doesn't do that.
We talked about this like with didn't we talk about the Raid and the Raid Part 2?
Right.
I
haven't seen the. Or no, I have seen the Raid. Yeah.
So those movies,
right,
also were beloved for their action because they're doing the old school, like the Jackie Chan kind of.
Yeah. Ghost in the Shell with Scarlett Johansson.
I did not see that.
I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was watchable.
Okay.
There's a lot of hate.
I mean, is it a sequel or a recreation?
Recreation of the cartoon. Yeah. I thought it was watchable. 6 out of 10. I might even give it a 7, honestly, if you just sort of kick back and enjoy yourself. But anyway, Alien Covenant, War Machine with Brad Pitt. It's a Netflix.
Yeah,
movie.
I know which one it is.
Did you see it?
I have not seen it.
I gave it a 5 out of 10. It's fun. It's an interesting biopic because you get to see American military, Iraq, Afghanistan depicted in a certain way. It's interesting. Logan Lucky, did you see that? Steven Soderbergh, Channing Tatum, Adam Driver, Daniel Craig. Logan Lucky.
I did not.
It's good. 8 out of 10.
That's the one.
It's a heist movie about NASCAR.
Right. I wanted to see that.
It's good. It's fun.
I actually, you know what I'm realizing? I remember seeing the preview and being like, oh my God, I can't wait for this.
And Steven Soderbergh, he's amazing.
Right. But then I think I missed when it came out. I might not even realize that it came out.
I saw it the day before the eclipse, so it came out in August.
So it just came and went. I missed it. I didn't even know it was out.
Boss Baby, have you seen that?
Oh yeah, that's hilarious.
Hilarious. What number would you give it?
That's like a 7.5.
Yeah, I gave it a 7. Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
Also rewatchable. I saw that twice.
The whole Blackbird thing is cute because
so
it's
good.
Like, I thought they wrote that song for me.
Yeah. I cried during that moment. So yeah, touching movie, interesting premise.
Alec Baldwin is such a boss,
funny.
man.
Yeah, it's so good. Jimmy Kimmel is the dad. Did you know that?
Yes, but only from reading that. I actually didn't catch it at first. Oh, by the way, I wonder how, because obviously I think Alec Baldwin would have pulled it off anyways, but I think it's so helped that he was in 30 Rock for all those years.
Right.
Because in our minds,
right.
I mean, there was Glengarry Glenn Ross and stuff, but in our minds, it's like, that's the boss character.
That's the boss voice, yeah.
Yeah.
Baby Driver?
Oh, yeah.
What number?
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
There were things about it that I wanted them to be a little better, but I still really enjoyed it. I probably gave it an 8.
Yeah, I gave it an 8 too. You and I.
Yeah, today we're pretty aligned.
There are times when I feel like I have no idea who you are, but today I really feel good about that because you agree with everything I'm saying. Yeah, 8 out of 10.
Yeah, right.
I gave Baby Driver 8 out of 10 because of the style, the vibe of it, the music, the use of music, the very straightforward storyline. It's not overly convoluted. The choices they made in terms of like stunts and twists and stuff, I thought was great.
I now remember why I had a conflicted feeling when you asked me the question. After the fact, when the Kevin Spacey stuff came out, I was listening to some interviews with the guy who's in it, who was also in The Walking Dead. Yeah.
He's in a new TV show on Netflix called The Punisher. Have you seen it?
Right, The Punisher. No, I haven't seen it, but I saw the first episode actually.
Yeah. Did you like it?
Yeah, it's kind of fun. He was saying how Kevin Spacey was basically a dick.
Oh, really?
And how disappointed, because it was like a hero to him before he had met him, and then he worked, and the guy was apparently insufferable.
Yeah. Logan?
Oh my God! Again, actually, I don't know why people would be saying that Thor was like their Logan. To me, was the best Marvel movie yet. Maybe even more than Guardians. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
So what number? You give it a 9 or a 10?
I think Logan for me was a 9.
I gave it a 7. I could see totally how people would rank this very high. But I gave it a 7 because I feel like I seek out these kinds of movies a lot, and so I feel like it didn't feel as new to me as people were making it out to be. You know what I mean?
Certainly there are movies like this that don't take place in a superhero universe that have been great.
Right. So I feel like if you're fully inundated with Marvel movies, or X-Men movies as well, this movie comes along, Logan, and you're just like, oh my God, so refreshing, so amazing. But to me, I was like, well, I've always sort of rejected the sort of Hollywood version of these movies anyway. And so anyway, it was a 7. I really liked it. Beauty and the Beast, the live action Beauty and the Beast.
Did you see that? Did not see that.
I did. 5 out of 10. It's it's fine.
Really?
Yeah, it's okay. It's 5 out of 10.
I had no interest.
If you like that sort of thing, like it's a musical, right?
But I'm getting so tired of remakes.
Yeah.
I just found out, what was the movie I just found out that just came out like 5 years ago, it seems. Maybe it's 10, but like every other day, it's like, oh, they're remaking.
Yeah.
It used to be like, they're remaking such and such movie. And you're like, I've never heard of that. Well, it came out 40 years ago.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, well, fine.
Atomic Blonde, Charlize Theron.
Did not see it.
I gave it a 5 out of 10.
Oh, I thought it was better. Like
it is. It's
like
there are some amazing, similar to John Wick and Jackie Chan, amazing stunts that Charlize Theron and other people commit in this.
Is it the story is not?
The story is like pretty jumbled. Yeah,
I see.
It's based on I think a graphic novel, and so maybe you could fault the graphic novel, the original. But anyway, Wonder Woman.
Oh, how is this possible, dude? This is
so
a lot
many
of
movies
stuff to happen in one. I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I mean, if we were even just 5 years ago, if we just had one of these good superhero movies come out
in 1 year,
you'd just be like, "Oh my god, what a great year!"
I feel like 85% of Wonder Woman was like a 10 for me.
Yeah,
and the other 15% was like a 6 for me.
So what's the overall score?
I would average it out to an 8.
Yeah, I gave it a 7. I could have given it an 8. Similar to what you're saying. I don't know what 15. For me, it was the last.
Yeah,
the last 15%.
There were a couple of little bits in the middle, but that's nitpicky. It's the ending sequence.
Yeah,
that whole part was a little underwhelming.
Yeah,
and it could have been better.
Right. The thing that they should have done for my viewing and pleasure was set up that she has a power that she does, like the way she wins is she uses this ray that comes out of her wrists, you know, and it's like, I'm not that familiar with Wonder Woman to know that she has that. And 2, how did she know she could do it?
It felt like a Deus Ex Machina there for a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you're right. It wasn't a thing that the whole movie, okay, sure, they were saying find your true center or whatever, right? But it wasn't a thing where the whole movie she's trying to reach this next level and finally she went to, her final form, you know?
And the whole movie felt very real and grounded, and even though they're on that island and they're wearing all that ridiculous like headdresses and armor and everything, it felt real.
Yeah, like when they were fighting on the beach, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. But when they enter that last sequence, it's like it's just
fantasy.
that typical DC way that you make. It's the same thing happened in Justice League. It's the same exact criticism I had.
And Batman v Superman, like it's the big CGI battle
at the end, and it looks like a dumb cartoon.
And by the way, Avengers had the same problem at the end too.
Totally.
The aliens fly down through a hole. Now it's all crazy shit.
Totally, it's so dumb. And it's like we enter the computer of some guy at ILM, or some other place, and it's like that's where I am. I'm no longer in the real world. I'm no longer watching like actual people running around. It's like I can tell.
Not only, so I completely agree. And some of the best action sequences is when she's fighting many humans at a time that are firing their guns. Like when she's making it through the dead man's zone. That's pretty badass. You know? So I felt like that ending sequence could have used a little bit more fighting in those traditional ways,
or just make it real short. There are movies, I can't remember which one I was watching, where I was like, oh, they wrapped that up real quick.
Well, like the first Guardians of the Galaxy, everyone complained, like in most Marvel movies, that the bad guy was a bit forgettable. But remember, they didn't drag out that final face-to-face battle with him.
Okay.
They do the thing where he's basically gonna win, but what's his name?
I'm trying to remember the scene actually.
Because he's the only one. He thinks he's the only one who can wield the Power Stone and stuff.
Yeah, right. And then there's a joke in there when he's dancing, and it gets wrapped up real quick.
Yeah,
like another writer would have been like, okay, we got to have like an epic battle, especially because the guy dies, right?
Exactly.
And he doesn't come back in another movie, like he's just gone. And so, yeah, absolutely. Okay, War for Planet of the Apes, directed by
I haven't seen it.
Matt Reeves. I gave it. Do you like these movies?
I do.
Well, you got to see this one
because it started with the prequel, right, where they're doing the experiments on the chimp and he escapes or whatever. And I loved this whole series.
Yeah, me too.
But I haven't seen the new one.
The new one is a very good ending because essentially it's the ending. If they make another one beyond this, it would be like jumping
Return to the planet.
Well, it would be like jumping forward when humans rise up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's the end of the Caesar story.
Got it.
You know, the main monkey.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta see it.
Not monkey, but ape. But 8 out of 10. I gave it 8 out of 10. Woody Harrelson is very good in this.
Oh,
he's an evil guy in this.
Yeah.
And this Steve Zahn plays one of the apes and is hilarious. Do you know who Steve Zahn is?
No.
He is just hilarious.
Who is he?
I'm trying to think what movie he's in. I don't know. If you Googled him, you'd be like, oh yeah, Steve Zahn. Dunkirk.
Right. We talked about it. I haven't seen it.
I gave it 8 out of 10.
Only 8.
Yeah, I mean, 8's pretty good. I
know it's really good for you, but the way you described it, I actually thought it'd be like a 9 for you.
No, it's a very good movie, and you got to sit down and in the dark and really watch this movie. Like, it's not something you got to experience the whole soundscape and the cinematography, and it's interesting because it's basically just a recreation of that event. It's not. There's no plot. There's no story. You know.
Yeah. I'm also sorry. I actually confused. I had a conversation about it with my friend Michael, who was telling me about the visuals and the experience, and he was gushing about it. So for a second I thought that I had talked to you about it, but you're right.
Chips with Dax Shepard directing. Chips.
You
know, Chips, the TV show. They made a movie.
Wait a minute.
With Michael Pena.
I can't believe I missed this. I now remember, I think, seeing a preview. But so they actually made a movie.
It's terrible. I gave it 2 out of 10. It has some funny scenes, but it is just terribly written, and like the tone is just bad.
21 Jump Street was funny.
Right. So, you know, I gave Baywatch a 5 out of 10, so I don't mind an adolescent humor movie. You know, it's fun.
So this one you give it a what?
Just a 2.
A 2.
Because it's actually not funny. It has like a couple moments, but most of it you know how when you're watching a movie and you're like, oh, you're trying to be funny, but it's not funny.
Right.
You know, it's like that whole scene was set up to make me laugh,
but it
really is not funny. Yeah. Spider-Man: Homecoming. Tom Holland, Michael Keaton.
That's another. You're right. Like another good superhero movie the same year.
How many out of 10?
So I love the humor. I love the actor. I like Kevin. What's his name?
Tom Holland.
No, the bad guy.
Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton. Sorry. I love the visuals, all that stuff. The story still left some to be desired, and there were some very convenient things. So overall, I guess I'd give it a 7.
Yeah, I gave it a 7, which is a solid movie to watch.
Yeah.
Entertaining, doesn't have a lot of problems, but not like an amazing... They weren't setting out to make a Dunkirk, you know what I mean? They were setting out to make a fun movie about Spider-Man. And in this movie, I will say, they caught the ball and then they ran it into the end zone. You know what I mean? It's like there's very little setup. In fact, Robert Downey Jr. is barely in it. You know what I mean? But he's in it. He's in it, but barely.
You make a great point. This is a great example of they focused on its movie,
right?
And then they added a little bit of sugar.
Right. There was no Batman staring out over the wasteland with a giant Omega in the ground. There was no Flash coming. You know, where the hell Flash? You know, like there was none.
Or the
of
scene with which again, I did like the movie, but the scene where they're showing the camera video feeds of all the new Justice League's potential members.
God. Yeah. It was basically a commercial. Like that scene, I'm like, why are we... Anyway. Kong Skull Island.
Did not watch.
Oh. Samuel L. Jackson, Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
I gave it a 6 out of 10 because it was... I give the first half like a 7 or 6. The last half I would give like a 4 or 5. The first half is like, it felt like King Kong from the 70s with Kurt Russell in it and stuff, you know? It felt like an updated kind of version of that, you know? But the last half was just like, you know, tons of dinosaurs attacking and just like all that stuff that I don't care about. And, you know.
What I find sad about these movies like King Kong, Godzilla, Tarzan or something. When I was a kid, in the early 80s, it was still possible to imagine, especially as a kid, that there were parts of the world that were so undiscovered that you could have a building-sized gorilla.
Or say a house size.
A house-sized gorilla.
Yeah.
Or you could have, not a Godzilla, but you could have a beast rise up from the waters or something.
Yeah, Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah, you could imagine that there were these places that Indiana Jones could visit that were so, whatever. And I know Indiana Jones took place in the past anyways, but I could really imagine, yeah, the world is so big and I know so little of it. Nowadays, not that I travel, but it's so easy to look stuff up and there's maps all over. So it sort of makes me like, yeah, there is no King Kong.
All right, so that does it for all the movies, which, I should say, a lot of really great movies for 2017. TV shows, I'm just going to read them off real fast. Stranger Things 2, Big Little Lies, Game of Thrones 7, Twin Peaks reboot or, sequel.
Do you know I've never seen Twin Peaks?
I'm not surprised by that. Most people haven't. I was a super fan I was 20 years old. Me and my friends were super fans.
But wasn't Twin Peaks taking place late 80s, early 90s?
It came out in 89, 90, I think, around there.
Yeah.
I was in college, so it was
okay.
Whatever, 90 or something.
Because I was in high school when it was still on, and it was just either too late at night or I just never saw it. I never even watched one episode.
I don't recommend it, honestly, because I rewatched it not too long ago, and it's basically a soap opera that is in the mind of David Lynch,
Yeah.
And there are certain storylines that they focus on that are just boring. Like the James character, I just was never interested in him, and I would actually fast forward through those scenes. But there's other scenes that are just amazing. I mean, if you like David Lynch,
which I love.
So there's about half of that show that's really great.
I started watching it recently because they have it on Netflix, I think, the original.
Okay.
And I saw the first 2 episodes.
Okay.
So, I've seen him arrive at the town, and I've seen him. There's the mystery, the body washed up on the water, whatever.
Did you like it?
I'm liking it.
Yeah. So at the time, imagine that, right?
Yeah.
Late 80s, early 90s. Yeah. And this is on television.
Yeah.
Back when I couldn't even afford to rent a VCR tape. Do you know what I mean? And you could watch it and with your friends and just like, oh my God, what's that? It was sort of like Lost. It felt very much like Lost, all the mysteries.
That makes sense. It was quite a departure from the TV shows of the time.
Right. American Vandal. Did you watch that?
No.
It's it's a mockumentary kind of, and it is about a kid who gets accused of writing 23 dicks on the teacher's cars in the parking lot.
Okay.
It's a high school kid, and so the whole thing is like, who wrote the 23 dicks? And they show the penises all anyway, and it's like it's in that Making a Murder style documentary.
Okay.
I only watched the first couple episodes because I got kind of bored. But Legion, did you watch Legion?
Nope.
I watched the first half and got kind of bored. Black Mirror season 4, The Crown 2, which I'm in the middle of watching.
Well, Black Mirror season 3
came out this year too. No,
the current one is season 4.
Right.
That one just came out.
Oh, 2018. Anyway.
But season 3 came out last year too.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Yeah. The Crown 2, season 2, amazing. I love that show. It's so good. The new Star Trek TV show, which I haven't seen.
I have not.
Because I don't have that channel.
I haven't caught up on the latest Star Trek shows, like anything after the original.
Yeah. This Is Us was a big show. Gypsy, 13 Reasons Why. X-Files started up again. Fargo season 3, which I have on DVD. I'm going to watch that.
I haven't seen any of this stuff.
Fargo is amazing.
Yeah.
And it's watchable. It's only like 10 episodes per. The American season 5. Man, was I into The Americans this year. I watched all 5 seasons in like the span of a couple of months.
So I get confused. So I started watching The Man in the High Tower. I've only seen the first episode.
Yeah, I watched that too.
That's the Germans won the war.
Yeah.
Or actually the U.S. never even. Don't tell me. Don't say. But it is the whole Nazi things.
The Nazis, yeah.
But the Americans is Russians, right?
Living in America.
Living in America. Okay.
In the 80s.
Got it.
Yeah. Rick and Morty season 3.
Yeah.
The Punisher, which you talked about. Will and Grace got started up again.
What?
Yeah. Big Mouth. Have you seen that cartoon on Netflix, Big Mouth?
Big Mouth. No.
You should watch it. You might like it.
Okay.
It's raunchy cartoon humor.
Okay.
About, I think, 9th graders. And anyway, you just have to watch it.
I think, wasn't The Comeback season 2 this last year?
Oh, I don't know.
With Lisa Kudrow?
I don't know. American Gods, which I recently started watching. Neil Gaiman, have you?
Yeah, so I mean, I wanted to read the book, so I sort of didn't want to watch the show until I read the book.
The show, I think you have to be high when you watch it or something, because it's really psychedelic in a lot of ways, and it doesn't. I think I'm on episode 3 or 4, and there still isn't a plot. It's still just like a lot of, the main character being confused.
I see.
Anyway, She's Gotta Have It, the TV show, Spike Lee.
So that's based on his movie?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh.
Handmaid's Tale, Blackish, Outlander, which I actually started watching and got bored with. The first few episodes were amazing of Outlander. The final season of Girls, I think. And many others. Okay, so let's go into people who passed away. Who do you know passed away this year?
Carrie Fisher.
That's right. Or wait, was she this year?
2017, right?
I don't know. I think she was late 2016.
Was it?
I don't know.
I think she died.
Well, she died recently.
I think she's dead, man.
Who else?
No one else died last year. No, a lot of people. I don't know.
You don't remember?
I do. I don't.
Chris Cornell.
That was in 2017.
That was David Cassidy. Partridge Family.
Chris Cornell was really last year?
Yeah.
Wow.
Jim Nabors, Gomer Pyle.
Yeah.
Fats Domino. The guy who played Benson. Did you ever watch that TV show,
No.
Benson? Tom Petty.
Yeah, Tom Petty.
Monty Hall from Let's Make a Deal.
Okay.
Hugh Hefner.
Yeah. Wait, that was, wow.
John Hillerman. He was the sidekick on Magnum P.I.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Charles Bradley, a soul singer that I saw play live. Harry Dean Stanton from Repo Man, Pretty in Pink, and Alien. Remember Harry Dean Stanton?
No.
You'd recognize him if you saw him. Do you remember Repo Man?
No.
Do you remember Pretty in Pink?
Yes.
The dad?
Yes.
Harry Dean Stanton.
Ah.
Malcolm Young from AC/DC.
Yeah.
Jerry Lewis.
So I know all the musicians pretty much.
Jerry Lewis, man.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Glenn Campbell. Ralphie May, the comedian.
It's crazy.
Sam Shepard from, he always plays like gruff, older military guys. John Hurd, the dad from Home Alone.
Oh.
Martin Landau from...
Wait, they show the dad in Home Alone?
Yeah.
Okay. I've never seen Home Alone or Home Alone 2.
You haven't seen Home Alone?
I've never seen Home Alone.
Yeah, so the dad...
I mean, I know the premise seems to be they go on a vacation without him. And
yeah, they accidentally leave him behind.
And the bad guys try to break in, and he breaks them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I must break you.
Yeah. Martin Landau from Space 1999 and Ed Wood and many other things.
Martin Landau died?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Adam West died.
Wait, no. I know Martin Landau died, but that was last year.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Adam West. Batman.
Adam West, right.
Greg Allman from the Allman Brothers.
Yep.
Roger Moore.
No.
Yeah.
Wait. When did Roger Moore die?
This year.
Shut up.
I know. The Saints.
The original Bond. Now, I know he's not the original, but he was my original Bond because that's the first Bond I ever experienced.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I mean, Roger Moore was an amazing Bond. He gets a short shrift because... Is that the right phrase?
A shrift.
Because when I was a kid, everyone loved the original Bond,
right?
And everyone, the what's his face,
Sean,
Miss Moneypenny. But when you watch the Roger Moore movies, actually, those are some of my favorite Bond movies.
Yeah, dude.
Octopussy is
The Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah, The Golden Gun.
The Man with the Golden Gun. Live and Let Die.
Although Moonraker's pretty bad.
Moonraker, as a whole, is a bad movie, but there are parts of Moonraker that are still really good.
Yeah.
I think what happened is that was the height of the ludicrous stuff.
Right. And 80s. I mean, come on.
Yeah. But Roger Moore, to me, that was the iconic Bond, because when I was a kid, the only movies they would show on TV usually were all the Roger Moore ones. So I only knew of Roger Moore. It wasn't until I was like 15 that I watched Dr. No.
Well, it's funny because I was when I was in high school, junior high, I watched James Bond movies all the time, just like all the time. And I'm ashamed of it now because I recently rewatched Goldfinger, and I'm just like, this is a massively misogynistic movie.
Oh yeah.
But as a kid, man, it was just amazing. And George Lazenby was actually my quintessential Bond.
Okay.
Because
that's a good movie, by the way.
He embodies a kind of gritty, like Roger Moore was too pretty and too smooth, you know, and
which is why I thought of him as the Bond.
Yeah, and Sean Connery felt, I don't know, just something else. But George Lazenby felt he had the perfect combination of like of refinement and English sort of, but also kind of tough and blah blah blah. Anyway,
I definitely wouldn't agree with you there, but I will say he did play a great Bond, and that movie was actually a really good Bond movie.
Right.
It's totally undervalued.
Yeah.
Whereas sadly, like Timothy Dalton was a dud, even though he's a great actor.
I thought he was going to be an amazing Bond because, and then I thought what's his face was going to be an amazing.
Pierce
Bond
Brosnan.
too. Yeah,
everyone wanted him to be Bond,
but I think the movies were just bad. You know.
Yeah, I don't know how much.
I recently rewatched one of the Brosnan movies. I can't remember which one, and I was the
one with Christmas Jones or whatever.
It's North Korea is involved,
where he starts in a prison. He's like a prisoner of war,
and I was like, my God, this is bad.
It's really bad because with Timothy Dalton, a lot of it was the direction. But I will say, The Living Daylights is a good movie.
I need to rewatch that one.
It's just that he's too dry,
yeah, and
too serious. But then the second movie was terrible. Yeah. That's the one where it's against the drug cartel in Colombia.
Oh.
And the truck, the semi goes on. It does like the little wheelie on the sides. It's really bad.
When I was a kid, there was very few things to watch. We didn't have cable because cable was kind of rare in the early 80s.
Right.
And there were very few things to watch on TV. And one of the things that was on late night or reruns was The Saint, which was Roger Moore.
Right.
And it was episodic. It was basically episodic James Bond episodes. And man, did I love that movie or that TV show. I watched it every night.
It was great.
I thought he was so cool.
My grandmas were addicted to it, so they were always watching it. I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great show because it's down to earth. You know, it's not fantastical.
Right.
You know, it's sort of like every episode he runs into some kind of situation and he has to sort of figure his way out of it. And he has like little ways of disguising himself and gadgets and stuff. I just love it. Anyway.
Down to earth, like Riptide was.
You and I loved Riptide. God, we should watch an episode of Riptide.
Yeah. Actually,
that helicopter was so cool.
That's what we should do for some episodes. We should watch an old 80s episode of something we liked
and just comment.
And then comment on it. Or do a whole session. Like we'll do a
other deaths 2017, Frank Vincent, he's in Goodfellas. He's the go get your shoe shine box guy.
Oh.
Powers Booth was amazing.
Right. He was he was the guy in Tombstone, the bad guy in Tombstone.
And he was also the Air Force pilot who crashed in not Wolverines, but Wolverines? What's that movie called? Wolverines.
I don't know if I've seen that movie.
Red Dawn.
Oh, I've never watched Red Dawn.
It's a good movie.
Is that with Kurt Russell?
No. It's with Swayze and all those guys. Actually, Harry Dean Stanton, I think, is the dad in that movie.
Kurt Russell's in Escape from L.A.
Yeah, and New York.
I never watched those nor Red Dawn.
My God.
But I think part of the reason, I wonder if they must have shown them in Colombia, but the Red Scare was not as big of a deal in Colombia.
Right. Well, but Red Dawn it holds up. Red Dawn, yeah. It takes place in the Northwest.
And Russia invades, right?
Well, it's not Russia. It's Russian backed, like Russia backs Mexico or someone, and Mexico invades or something like that. And then then they occupy a large portion of America.
Okay.
And these high school kids, because they're good with trucks and hunting, and they like escape into the hills, and they become basically like insurgents.
So it's an NRA advertisement.
Kind of. And you know, it's sort of like Lord of the Flies, because you have these high school kids in the woods, and they have to survive, and they also have conflicts, and they're scared. Like they portray the emotional fear and the sadness and the, you know, anyway. Aaron Moran, Joni from Happy Days died. Joni from Happy Days.
Aw.
I feel like there were a lot of deaths in 2017 that didn't pass by my Facebook feed or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Whereas 2016 was
I felt like
death.
I heard about every death. Joni from Happy Days. I mean, I can't tell you what Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley meant to me.
Oh, really?
As a child. I remember, you know, late 70s, I was, you know, 6, 7 years old, and my whole family would sit around and watch Happy Days every week. I think it was like Tuesdays at 7 or something.
And that was one of the family shows.
Yeah. And then Laverne and Shirley was right after. And we would watch it, and my brother would lay on his stomach in front of the TV, and I would lay on top of him on his back. And then my sister, or we'd all lay down in this humongous beanbag that we had, and we would watch Happy Days. So I have a very warm memory of, and then even Joni Loves Chachi, the spinoff from Happy Days. Watched that a lot.
Wait a minute. That was a show?
Yeah, Joni Loves Chachi was a spinoff from Happy Days. And actually, Laverne and Shirley is a spinoff from Happy Days.
No.
Yeah. So originally, Laverne and Shirley were characters, sort of secondary characters in Happy Days.
Okay, you're really actually blowing my mind right now, because I watched Happy Days as a kid. However, I never watched Joni Loves Chachi. Not only that, I didn't know it was a show. I thought that when people say Joni Loves Chachi, they are referring to Happy Days, but like as in Joni Loves Chachi or something. Oh. I never knew they were referring to a TV show.
I think it only lasted for a couple seasons or something.
And I certainly did not know Laverne and Shirley was a spinoff.
Yeah, this was like when Roots came out.
Wow.
Love Boat, Fantasy Island, all that stuff. Okay. Charlie Murphy, Eddie Murphy's brother, died. Don Rickles.
Right.
Chuck Berry. Joni Sledge from Sister Sledge. Judge Wapner.
Wait, who was Judge Wapner?
From the People's Court.
The People's Court? Okay.
Yeah. Bill Paxton.
Oh my God, right.
Yeah.
That was a shock.
Yeah. Aliens, Twister, Apollo 13.
Do we know what he died of?
No. Big Love.
Because he was young.
Frailty is amazing.
I love Frailty.
Yeah. Weird Science.
Yeah.
Nightcrawler. He's the other guy.
Right.
Tombstone. Edge of Tomorrow.
I mean, he must have been in his 60s or something.
He wasn't that old.
Yeah.
Norma McCorvey was Jane Roe from Roe versus Wade.
Okay.
She died. Al Jarreau. Some fly by night, some fly by day.
What the hell?
Moonlighting.
You need to, first of all, I've never seen it. I've never heard whatever you're doing. You need to karaoke that.
Oh my God, I should.
That Moonlighting was Bruce Willis and
Sybil Shepherd. Al Jarreau was an amazing 80s and 90s, probably 70s R&B, soul, kind of easy listening singer. And he had a very distinctive way of singing his vowels. You know, he had a very sort of plastic mouth, you know, some fly by day. You know, he had a very weird kind of singing style. Anyway, Richard Hatch, Apollo from the original Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, wow.
John Hurt, another guy from Alien. Mary Tyler Moore died. And you might appreciate this. The woman from Dirty Rotten Scoundrels died.
No.
Yeah. Glenn Headley. Headley.
Oh. Yeah. That's sad.
Yeah. So that's 36 notable people in my, people that I know who died.
Yeah.
Of the people who died, these are the 36 of them I know. Which means, but I think in 2016 there was like 50 or 60 people that I, famous people that I knew of who.
Yeah, 2016 was weird.
Yeah, I actually did an analysis on that whole thing, and I was trying to find my notes for it, and 2016 was like people are like, it feels like so many people are dying this year. And it actually was, in terms of like, it's hard to measure because it's like, well, how do you measure like a celebrity death versus a non-celebrity death? But it actually did anyway. So what do we think? What's the gestalt on 2017?
Okay, I think a lot of people did not feel good about 2017. I feel personally it was a fine year for me, but I see a lot of the world, in my opinion, notched down a couple of notches in 2017.
Why was it a good year for you?
Just, like professionally and personally, I can't complain, and there were many positives.
Okay.
But for the world, I feel like things got a little worse in the world in 2017.
For the podcast, I would say that it was a good year in that it, excuse me, was a year that I feel like I really kind of hit the stride with how many episodes I could make that I felt were good enough to publish. And it was a good solid year for Patreon and for sponsorships and that kind of thing. And so it was so 2.5 years ago-ish was when we started Patreon.
Right.
Late 2015. And so 2016 was like, oh, great. We're getting a lot of patrons, which was great. And then 2017 was like, oh, we're getting even more patrons,
right.
So it felt like, hey, this is like a legitimate job for us now,
right.
All right. Well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle. Thanks for joining us out there, and thanks for joining us during 2016. Let's head into 2018 and make another.
So you skipped a year there.
What'd I do?
You said, thanks for joining us for 2016.
What? I was thanking them for joining.
Yeah, well, that's what I said. You just skipped a year. It's fine.
I can skip a year.
I can skip 2 years.
I don't want to thank anyone for joining us for 2017.
I can skip 2017 with no handlebars.
People who joined us for 2017 can just fuck off. Please take care of yourself because
you deserve it.